That's a gay-ass podcast.
What? That's a gay-ass podcast. What? A really, really, really gay podcast that we call That's a Gay-Ass Podcast.
That's a gay-ass name for a gay-ass podcast.
Welcome back to That's a Gay-Ass Podcast, the podcast that asks, whose fault is it that you're gay? It is me, Eric Williams, and this week, my friend Kyle Krieger is here on the podcast. Now, if you follow Kyle, you saw a video he posted a couple weeks ago about a health scare. He talked about being in the hospital for a full week, and not only was he dealing with that terrifying life moment, but he also opened up about being sober for 17 years and then spending the past year living outside of sobriety. And so I've talked to him in this interview about that fact, how he's gone back into sober living and how he feels now in this new chapter of being newly single, newly sober. And as always, he's incredibly present, vulnerable, and real. Now, I met Kyle because he did Confession Hole, which is my Glory Hole talk show. And you can watch Kyle's entire interview on Substack, along with the other gorgeous Glory Hole talks there. Please enjoy this interview with the stunning Kyle Krieger. Kyle Krieger is not wearing a blouse, but he is on That's a Gay-Ass Podcast. Yeah, show us those fucking tits, Kyle.
Well, she's a little skinny now, but
oh wow,
it was just yesterday, so a little,
You look great. You
deflated,
look great.
but we're good.
No. I'm thrilled that you decided to bare your whole chest and your emotional hole for this gay-ass podcast.
On Twitter, you can see the other one too, period.
And listen, the link is in the description for the real pink one. Kyle, can I just say that when you agreed to do Confession Hole a few months back, you showed up and you slayed the interview. And then I was so thrilled that we've become Judies since then. And it is, we have a lot to discuss, but I just want to say thank you for being not only such a great, hot content creator, but also person. Thank you for bringing your gorgeous light to this world and for coming on this gay-ass podcast. Before you say anything, I need your take that And Just Like That has announced this season is the final season, and the 4 girlies, their journey has officially ended after this season. How do you feel? Are you devastated, or are you thrilled, or a third thing?
Is that a sci-fi show?
It's the Sex and the City reboot.
Never seen it.
You didn't watch a single episode of And Just Like That?
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm not that girl, dude. But the girl I am is I'm like a sci-fi. Like I'll watch like Foundation. I'll watch like Handmaids, or like there's one called Fallout that on Amazon I love, and like anything or sort of like post-apocalyptic sci-fi thing, I'm in.
So you're like a nerd girl. Were you ever an original Sex and the City girl? Hello. Did you ever watch Carrie and the Girls, or were you never a Sex and the City girl?
Yeah, but like in the problematic era.
Well, of course.
When like she was like Ted the Teasler one day, and I was in college with my friend named Heather. And we lived in like this haunted apartment, which was actually really funny. But I remember that she would come home every day and she would have Sex and the City seasons like 1 through 6 or whatever in DVD. And she would have it on just like all the time. So like I've definitely seen all of the episodes. I've seen the runway one where she falls and trips, and the catwalk, or the
Fashion Roadkill.
And I've seen, like the Teasler one, and I know who Big is, and I've seen I saw The Wedding with like the flowers in the head, and very moved by all of that. It's not that I don't like it, I just don't, I don't know, like that, like any sort of sitcom or like comedy or like, I don't even know where that would fall. It's not really my cup of tea. Like I don't watch like Housewives or reality TV or stuff. I like more of like cinematic stories. Do you know what I mean?
I get that. It's a different strokes, as they say. I actually watched the original series when I need to pick me up, because even though it can be problematic, it just feels like I'm hanging out with old girls. Yeah. Last night I was feeling a little low, and so I turned on season 3, episode whatever, and it's when Carrie dates a bisexual man, and the entire conversation is, does bisexuality exist? And of course they're like, nope, they're just greedy. And that's the whole point of the episode. It doesn't exist.
Do you know one time, actually, I was in, my sister, I feel like identified, well, she's sort of, I don't know actually where she identifies, but for a while she was identified as bisexual, I think. And also I used to work at Aveda, which is like this hair salon in New York, and it was like this whatever. And we had this front desk lady, her name was Cynthia, I think. And she was bisexual, and this is like kind of back in, not back when I was in college, but I was like 25, like maybe right out of college. So around this era that I was discussing, and I went into work one day, and she was like, "Oh yeah, I'm a bisexual," and I was like, "That was really a thing." You know what I mean? You gotta kind of like pick one, and she hit me hard with the lesson. And ever since then, I've been like, I don't know, bisexuals exist. I fully support. I mean, what's the point of not support? Like, it's just like so easy to be like, great.
Believe by people. Believe by people. No,
one of my best friends is bi. Yeah.
Well, there was an era where it was like accepted to not believe them, and now it's like
weird.
But it's sexuality is obviously such a spectrum, and I think at a point, I think people just are jealous of bisexual people who are not putting themselves in one camp, and they're like able to hook up and enjoy all types of bodies. So I think we're all just projecting our own insecurities that we're just one thing, maybe. Yeah, I'm into that. Like my friend who's bisexual, like he, predominantly like, actually like, whenever we're out and like there's like a girl there, he'll like, I don't know, he like really, it actually feels, this is like, I don't mean to say this in a surprising way, but it feels legit when I'm with it. Like he genuinely is attracted to a lot of different types of people, and it feels authentic, and I'm like, of course, exactly. We love to see bi people living their bi bliss. Now, Kyle, there's so much that I have on my list to discuss with you. Just to sort of blanket my emotional state, I'm on day 4 of not smoking weed after smoking it every day for a long while, and so I'm sort of emotionally one might say on the edge. And you've been really, really honest about what you've been going through. And so we're going to get into that part of your life, but I want to kind of start with your gay journey before we get there. So Kyle Krieger, the Gay Ass Podcast question is, whose fault is it that you're gay? Who do we blame, babe?
That's a good one. I feel like this is a very standard answer, though, so I should maybe be a little bit more mindful about. Well, so I grew up on X-Men cartoons. Like Saturday morning, I would go Saturday morning, watch my cartoons. I'd go get my cards, and like at the store and like comic book store, and my dad and I would put them in, and we would draw, like we would sketch like the mutants that we would have in our cards. And I was really young, but I remember like drawing like the X-Men, and I would draw like Rogue and Storm were like my two, like I had them like tattooed on my arm right here, in this sort of like this Japanese style. It's very cool. But so they were sort of like my protectors, which feels very gay. Growing up and just having like these two women that would be like, those are my like girls. But drawing the male heroes or the male identifying heroes, I would just be like so into like their packages and like the abs and the butt, like that couldn't, that body that was just like, I want this to just like suffocate me. And as I grew up, I would like find that sort of body in the Calvin Klein underwear aisle, where I would just like stroll by and like, just like looking and just holding. And they used to wear like those cups and stuff, so you could never really see like VPL or anything, but I just, the idea of that. And also like Abercrombie ads, like when I got into high school, like there was like these two brothers.
Go on.
Here I go. As I say this, I'm like, incest. Okay, great. Here we go. No, but there was like these two twin brothers that were so hot. And they always like had like Bruce Weber, anyway, as a photographer, would capture them in a way that I thought was very beautiful. And I remember thinking like, are they going to kiss? Like, what is that? Like the men in those ads in the bags, and I would cut out the bags and I would put them on my wall.
Wait, you would actually, and did you do that thinking that you were just sort of framing culture, or were you, did you know deep down that you were just soaking wet for them.
I mean, I put the girls up there too. Of course, you
Okay.
get the bags with like the new girls as well, and they're in a wet t-shirt or whatever. But I would always just be like, well, that's just like for show. That's just so I dodge a bullet.
That was
And people-
security. That was
yeah,
insurance.
yeah. I'm like, oh no, it's really about the wet t-shirt. You know, just the guys happened to be there. But I remember I used to walk into the store like trying to look all cute because remember they used to like ask you if you wanted to work there if you were cute, and I look at these photos like that. I was like never gonna get asked, and I walked in there and I would just like walk around. I couldn't afford like that much, so I'd buy like a t-shirt, and then sometimes they would give you the small bag with nothing on it, and I was like, fuck. I gotta buy something more in order to get the big bag with the guy on it, and then with the bag would coming out, and I'd be like, "Which bag are they into?"
Oh wow.
Anyway,
The
yeah, it was
bag, the bag.
Abercrombie. That was.
There's a lot to unpack there because I think that the X-Men, first of all, the powerful women protecting you is very gay. There's a whole faction of gay guys specifically who love like WWE fighters still to this day, which I find to be like an interesting subsect of person. Obviously, the bulge of it all. Do you find that you still look at either men's bulges while you're at or do you feel pulled towards bulge?
Yeah, I love it. I don't even want to see it. I want to see the bulge. I want to see it in the underwear. I want to see, and like sometimes I don't know. You know how sometimes people will wear like a jock? Sure, great. And in some ways, I'm like, yeah, this is hot and sexy. It depends on my mood and like what it looks like and the rest of the whole thing. But I normally just like boxer briefs or like things that are just very classic looking, like that. Just like a very quintessential like all American, like that sort of. Like white Calvin Klein brief, like something, or even if it's like a loose boxer, but you can kind of get like a peek, or maybe like the lip is open and it's not buttoned and you can get like a little shaft in there. I'm like,
oh yeah,
my God.
dick neck as they call it.
Yes, some of that would be nice. Like I love stuff like that. Sure, I love to see it, and I'll, of course, I would love it to escalate. But something about the mystery of like what's going on there, what's behind there. I love
it's
that.
probably partly why you have such a great eye for the work that you do, and I mean
thanks.
that like really, like there's something that we so hot about what we don't show versus showing all of it that is really, really alluring. But you come from this family of athletes. Both of you and your sister Allie have grown to have these like really big careers. Obviously, people who know your sister are like the girls who know. Your sister Allie has won 2 World Cups as a soccer player. She has this incredible platform, so many fans. She also has 2 gorgeous children, your niece and nephew, Sloan and Ocean. I mean, your parents have like really created some pretty... and she's queer. So like your parents, you're from Virginia, and your parents have these 2 like queer kids with now these big platforms. What's your relationship with your birth family, and what's their take on birthing these 2 gay celebs?
Gay celebs. Actually, it's really funny. This is a funny story. Actually, that just happened the other day. I was traveling in the month of May, or in June, because I had recently gone through a breakup and I wanted to kind of get out of my apartment for 30 days, and I was bouncing around, and I like had not had Grindr before ever in my life, really. And it's a long story. And so I got it, and I was just like, anyway, on there. I'm not really the type to have like hookup sort of relationships. I'm more of like I loved it. Yeah, I would love just to be like, this is fun. Like, whose torso is that? Do I know that person? Like, could I always am incognito too, so I'm always just like browsing, which is really fun. Whoa. But I went to Madrid in Spain, and then I got banned because Grindr messaged me in an email, the most embarrassing email. This is like such an eye roll. They're like, you're being banned for impersonating a celebrity and public figure. And I was like,
bitch, it's me.
First of all, the C word is crazy. But I was just like that. I was like, what? I was like, it's me. Like we follow each other, me and Grindr. Like we're like, and I'm like messaging them, and they're like, oh yeah, sorry, you got reported. And I'm like, for a celebrity, like I'm just me, like.
Well, people could not believe that Kyle Krieger himself was in España.
Looking for D. Yeah,
looking for
that
D in España. Did you get any D in España?
Oh, man. Yes, but this is like sort of like a story that turns a little like emo, in the sense that I was at an afters, and I was like 7 a.m. and I'm laying on this bed, and Like the light is coming in. I'm having intercourse. There's this guy riding me. He's like sitting on top of me. I'm like sort of hard because I had been partying all night, and it was sort of towards the end of my using and drinking this time around. And like the light was coming in. I could hear the swallows outside. And I was just like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I don't even know this guy's name. I'm not going to come. I don't even know what, like, he's having a ball. And I'm just like, what is going on? Like, and it was one of those moments that I was like, this is not what you're like, but it was intercourse that I did have in Spain. But that was it. Like, after my breakup, like I think my ex-partner and I are very different. Like he, you know, will be very sexually active, I think, after a breakup, and be 25 and 26 and he's 26 now, but it feels very like normal and sure, like whatever. Like I totally get like not feeling your feelings. I did it in other ways. I mean, not that it's that, but it could be leaning in that direction, a distraction, whatever. And so I'm the opposite. Like I go much more inward and I pull away and my penis is like inside and I'm like not hard ever. I never jack off, or like I've only had sex like once or twice since that one time in Madrid and then one time for work since we broke up, unless it was with him, like in sort of, you know, it's a little bit foggy after you break up and you're still doing shit. And that was it, you know, so I'm not really like, I still feel like I'm like healing a lot. And I'm just not in that space to like be on Grindr, be hooking up.
Well, it's really well said. I think that the older we get, the more we realize what we do need when we're going through tough times. And obviously, when you're younger, the whole saying of like, when you want to get over someone, you get underneath someone, which is a bit of I think, an early way of thinking, because I'm the same exact way. I remember when my ex-boyfriend and I broke up, I was 23, and I found out that the day after we broke up, he fucked some guy that I knew, and I was like devastated. I was like, I thought, how could you wrap your mind around that? And I think that there's just people's brains work differently in the way that they cope, and I think that you knowing the way that you take care of yourself now, it's a sign of strength. But while you're inside of someone, having that realization is one way to sort of get some perspective, and at least that led to you sort of reclaiming your sobriety and also taking care of yourself, which I do want to talk about, because there was something so beautiful about the way that you shared that post, because I think that to be vulnerable with an audience like yours, you're actually, I would say, giving yourself the gift of community, but it's also very much you're giving something away. And so I'm curious how you feel about posting that. For anybody who hasn't seen it, you did this video post saying that you had just celebrated 17 years of being sober. And then recently you took a step back mindfully with the support of your network and your therapist into starting to dabble in substances again. And you said it was at first fun, and then there were a lot of peaks and valleys. Then this led to you having a really big health scare. You were in the hospital for a week. You also have recently gone through this breakup, and now you have realized that you need to recommit to sobriety and taking care of yourself. So my question is, how did it feel to share that post? That is such a vulnerable thing to do. And yes, you got a ton of support, but did it feel, once you posted it, you wanted to not look at your phone for a while? What was it like?
It's been, you know, it's been really hard. Around that time, you know, so I got a call from my sponsor immediately following and going up. And he was like, you think this was the best idea? You know what I mean? Just telling the world on day one that you're recommitting to your program, like, why, you know, like, why do we have to publicize everything? Maybe we just keep this for ourselves. And I totally get that, you know, and I thought about it afterwards, and I didn't apologize, but I was like, you know, I get it. Like, and I think that makes a lot of sense. There was something about, I've shared my life online for so long, you know, just like my following, or like on YouTube or on Instagram even, like they know everything. Like I was so, for the first time in my life with my ex-boyfriend who I recently split with, I was so like screaming from the top of the rooftops to be like, I'm so in love with this man. He's so wonderful. And like, I never had really done that before. And I was like exploring like these new things with like drugs and alcohol, supposedly in a mindful way that obviously escalated away from that. But I had just been like shared so much that when it all sort of, it almost felt unfair in a way to be like, I lived this whole year and I share everything with you, and what I'm just gonna pretend like I'm not going through something hard. Like, I feel like social media, the special thing about it is that the connection, even if it's like digital and a little bit surface, like I got I got comments that and messages for days after, days, weeks, I still get them of people being like, I just really needed to hear this. And like, I've been sober a long time and I have the same thoughts of like, was I just young? Like, could I do this again? And to hear you say, like, it's the same. Your addiction is doing push-ups while you're sober, and it comes back just as strong or stronger. And like, people would be like, you really saved me in a way that I don't really want to. I'm not really that curious anymore, and from a sober point. And then there was all like other people who were just like friends and family who are just like, this was a side of you that we don't normally see online, So, and I really was navigating a lot at that time, still grieving my breakup. My ex and I grieve very differently. He is very insular and not as highly emotional as I am. And I'm very vocal and like I share about what I'm feeling. And, that's what really saved my life. And sobriety is, and 12-step programs or whatever, however you get sober, it's really about telling on yourself and they keep yourself accountable with 2 million people or whoever. I thought like, if I tell these people that I'm doing this, like I got to do it. And I really want to do it. And I didn't want to mess up again,
There's something I think that rings true with me is that you felt that there would be a falseness if you don't share because you've been so vulnerable for all of these years. And I too connect with people in very honest verbal ways. And without getting too specific, I'm dealing with that right now in my own relationships. And it's been a huge struggle for me to realize how certain people don't communicate in that way. But for the ones of us that do, that we really love to share our deepest issues and joys through conversation.
Yeah.
That's probably partly why you've gained such a passionate audience. It's because they see themselves in you and they also see the strength it takes to share. And I hope that you have felt now, since you've posted it, a net positive because of those messages of support. Because in ways, your struggle and really your sacrifice in sharing that has absolutely saved a lot of people who are thinking that maybe they should just give it another go. So I hope, do you feel there's a net positive from you having shared that?
Well, thank you so much. It's so kind of you to say. I'm very generous. And I do, I really do. I like feel good about it. And I sometimes I'll rewatch it and like, I'm like, wow, like now sometimes if I'm having doubts or something like late at night, sometimes it's only been 13 days now. And so I just feel, I just still have those little thoughts creep in, and I'll go and I'll read comments and I'll just be like, this is like so worth it. You know what I mean? And it just, it felt really safe to do. It just felt like it's sort of what I've always done. And so it felt like this is my family online. This is my, in a way, a chosen family. Like they know me so well. They send these intimate, like very loving, kind, thoughtful comments because I have been vulnerable for so long and they know who I am in a way.
How long, if you don't mind me asking, how long had you tried to dip back into substances? Was it a full year? Was it less? Because I'm curious about now that you're back into the sober lifestyle, how long it's been since you've committed to full sobriety.
So yeah, like you mentioned before, I was sober for 17 years, and then May 2024, that was my 17th year celebration. And through that summer, I had been talking to my therapist about like, my dad had died and I was dating someone who was younger than me, and would like go out and have like a bunch of friends, and like, yes, he would do like party weekends, but it wasn't like something alarming to me. It was just being like young and having fun and like whatever, like what people do, and part of like gay social life, and like going to these events and whatever, and meeting whatever. So, and he had a really wonderful group around him. His friends were so lovely, and I felt very safe with them. And it took me 6 months to get to the point from when I talked to my therapist in like March, April, to like August, when I had visited my boyfriend at the time in Austin, and he was like, and it was going to be like it was like a party weekend that weekend called Splash, and all of his friends are there, and it was so fun, and there were like those boats and like little parties, and like it was so amazing. It was so cool, and I was like, I think maybe this is time, and like I feel good about this. I feel safe with you. I feel loved and taken care of, and I feel good, and we can start slow. And my therapist and I had been talking a long time about it, and for 6 months, and I finally was willing to let go of my program. And I think it took me 6 months to get there, and I was really held on to like the ego part of my time, because I really wore it as like a badge of honor. It was like 17 years. I was like, this program saved my life. Like it built who I am today. Like it really built all my morals and the way I walk through the world, and acts of service and love and kindness and supporting people, and being more tolerant with people, and just like the calmness that I walked through the world with. But like, it was like a level of peace that all of 12-step gave that to me. And so letting it go, I had to get to the point where I was like, I'm not letting it go. It built who I am. It's just that I'm charting a new path, that I still get to bring all of it with me. But I will say that at that time, it was rolling hills. It was fun. And like, we had a blast, and like, I loved it. And yes, like there were times when my partner would be like, we should, this is, like, maybe we're drinking a little, maybe he would be a little bit mindful, and my friends would kind of like raise a red flag every now and then, or a yellow flag. And I'd reel it in, and I'd talk to my therapist, and I'd get accountable, and I would tell them like, hey, let's create a new guardrail here. Maybe I'm drinking a little much. Maybe it's going to be, I'll have, I can't drink on consecutive days. I can have no more than 3 a day. And that's like my new thing.
Yeah.
And if I'm doing powders or whatever, psychedelics or whatever, that was a different thing, which just that is always the like danger. Like stimulants were always my thing, and I knew that like if I got into that, it could be trouble, which was pretty much like what ended up taking me down anyway. But never crystal meth, which is what I came in on when I was younger, and 23 when I got sober. It was really crystal meth, and I told myself a hard line, like I'll never ever touched crystal meth.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't, and I was really happy about that, because I really feel like that can take it down hard and fast, and like there's really just no getting out of that for me. And anyway, so it took me a while, but when I was in it, the beginning, it was really fun, and like I really loved sharing those experiences with my partner at the time, and just going out and have fun. I'd coming home in our house, and we would just like I don't even know, just like silly things that I never did, like having a couple margaritas, ordering Mexican food, or like or having champagne and like toasting to something that we were celebrating, or like whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like he had graduated pilot school, and I was thinking like, oh, let's have champagne and like we can celebrate. Little things like that felt harmless, but eventually went from those like small occasions to my weekends began to be Thursday to Monday, and then it became every day, and then it's like I'm hiding things, and it just really escalated pretty quickly. Like by January, I was using every day.
And would you say that getting into that daily use, is that what led to your health issues where you were hospitalized with the infections?
I don't know if they're directly related. However, I do know that I had it's like so hard to sometimes talk about, because it just was so dark, but I do know that I had worn my body down by using daily so much, like it was like a mixture of like psychosis and obsession and addiction, like dark, just, but like with a smile on, like working and like working, sort of like kind of procrastinating all the time and always getting in the way of trying not to work. But, like trying to put on this like everything's fine, holding up like all these plates in the air, like trying to make it seem like with money, now that I was a little bit older, I can make it seem like it was okay. But when you're younger and 23, you don't have any money. And it's like fucking dark really early and you're just like, oh, this is bad. But I do think that I beat my body down so much by using daily for 6 months, from January to when I got sick in July, in June or July. It was, you know, I don't know if they're related in that sense, but I did not set myself up for success. That's for sure. You know, I wasn't in good health.
Yeah, and I just so applaud your ability to look back, even though we're recording this on, you know, the first day of August, and so it's still pretty fresh. But there's such, it's so difficult to admit when something gets out of hand. And that's the place that I'm in right now with, I've been smoking weed every day around 4:30, 5 p.m. And I've realized part of it is to hide my anger or sadness about certain parts of my life that I am either unhappy with or struggling with. And so I have tried to be really intentional with taking this break. And it's, of course, bringing all these feelings up. So I'm like, I'm like on the edge of tears all the time. I'm truly on day 4. So like, it makes sense. But I think that we can tell ourselves we need to make a change for months and years and years and years. But then to actually take the first day to make that change, that's the hardest thing. And you're sitting here doing that. And I think that it is so important for other people to hear that it's possible to do it, to make that first day decision. And it's okay to struggle because, you know, I used to feel that feelings are forever. And I'm learning that I know that they're not, but it's hard when you're in the middle of the darkness to not feel that. What are you doing to take care of yourself if you're having a dark moment? Let's say you wake up and you're like, God, I'm on day whatever now.
Last night I had them.
Yeah. So what do you do? I mean, if you're feeling like, God, even if it's not that I want to use, but I want to make myself feel better because I feel like such a piece of shit right now. Is there anything that you do to help get you out of the darkness?
One thing that really helps, this goes along with like what I'm about to say and answer your question, but in your time of like these stepping stones that you're taking in this new path that you're charting, and you're tiptoeing through these uncharted waters that you're a little bit anxious about, if you ever need like just to call or text or anything, just to talk to someone else who is navigating something similar. Like in 12 steps, sometimes they say like one alcohol, I'm not diagnosing anything, but I'm just saying that sometimes they say one alcoholic talking to another is like where the magic happens. And like just anyone, and that can even translate to anyone sort of navigating any sort of thing that they're trying to like to step away from or to move on from, is like that connection that you have with someone else that understands exactly what you're going through, and that you can just take the power out of it in your head and get it out and have a, you know, whether it be vocal, usually I think vocally helps the best, but also like even writing or texting or, hey, I'm thinking about using today, like, do you have time to call? Or if not, then like, can we just talk about it real quick on text, or, you know, whatever, like checking in, almost keeping yourself accountable. And so to answer your question, thing that I do is that almost. So like, because I'm sort of in the ICU, I'm sort of new, I'm very like, you know, people sort of will kind of circle the wagons around me. However, in my past, whenever I would have these using dreams, one thing that I would do is to call another alcoholic or an addict and tell myself, be like, hey, like I just had a few thoughts about calling my dealer. And I don't know, I just like feeling like I just really want to use today, and I just want to call you and talk about it. And then as soon as, you know, you talk about it and you hang up the phone and you're like, I just want to go to bed. You know what I mean? It's just like, I love what I'm doing. Like and almost like it takes the power away and you can sort of continue on. Another thing that I do is, I will try to, you know, fill my day with things that make me feel really good. And like, for example, like getting back in my routine or exercise, or rewarding myself in a way with these activities that I'm like, I know that this will get in the way of like what I'm trying to do, you know? And so between those two things of checking in with others, also sometimes calling someone who's in a worse position than I am. So if I have 13 days, and I'm going through it and I'm grieving a breakup and I'm crying myself to sleep and I'm trying to like thinking about using and I'm fucking sick and whatever. Calling someone with 2 days to be like, hey, how are you? And they're like going through it. And immediately you're just like, that sort of act of service removes all of your bullshit. You show it for someone else and they like are just appreciative and you help them and you get off the phone. Like I said, you're just like, I'm good. You know what I mean?
It's I totally can see that because it gives you perspective, and that's what I've been sort of losing right now is sometimes perspective on like, you know, I sort of had a crash. I did this. I'm working on this new show that's incredibly vulnerable, and every time I do it, it feels like this like Herculean effort. And then I got back. I did it in New York, and I got back, and I crashed, which I always crash after a big show. But it was like the crash plus I'd been smoking every day to get me through it, and then once I've stripped that away, yeah, I start to feel like, why have I been doing any of this? And I know that this again will pass, but I think it is incredibly important to actually tap into the good things you have in your life. And I don't know, I think it's interesting as queer people too. So much of our social lives is baked around going out, whether it's a gay club or
it's
a
so
party.
important to talk about, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Is there, in your 17 years and now in this chapter of being back in the sober life, what's your relationship to going out? Have you been able to figure out a way to exist and enjoy those spaces without actually imbibing?
Well, I've learned that those spaces, like I said, I sort of see myself as like in the ICU right now, right? I'm in like intensive care. Focus is I get a meeting every day. I call my sponsor. I wake up. I go to the gym. I'm in my routine and I'm focused on myself and my mental health. I walk my dog. I see a friend or two, whatever. And like that is sort of like my main focus. And anything that sort of would get in the way of that, I sort of try to avoid. And like I'll go to, you know, I agree. There's not many like spaces in queer culture and queer life that I know of, even after 17 years of being sober, that are not revolving around drinking, basically. Like, you know, we go to like bars or a venue or a party and there's always booze everywhere and everyone's always drinking. It's very social and I get it. And the people that drink, they're not necessarily alcoholics, but it's just like part of our social life and like a lubricant to help you, you know, to talk to people or to meet guys or whatever, you know. And so, you know, in all my time, I feel like the more time you get, the more time I'm away from it, the stronger I feel, right? When I'm like really doing the work and I know like what my intentions are and where I'm going, I'm not really interested in messing it up. But when I'm new and it kind of feels like it was just 12 days ago, like, and I'll say to myself, I could do 12 days again in 12 days. Like, why not go out? Why not use? Why not? And I know that thinking is crazy because I know that I'll then use again and I won't be able to put down the stimulants and I will just keep going and maybe I won't make it back. Maybe I will be back in the hospital. You know, like you don't really know. And so I try to avoid those spaces now when I'm sort of like really
in the
trying to
nation
focus.
stays of
Yeah,
sobriety.
and like, sorry, go ahead.
Well, so no, that makes complete sense. Was there, just as like a curiosity, let's say you're like you were in your 16th year of sobriety. Were you going out because you had such a reserve of all those years?
Well, to be honest, I sort of think of it as like a prelapse. Like I wasn't really doing the work. Like my first 5 years, I was in it, right? I was chairing things. I was like focused. I had sponsor. I was like, I know this is a lot of like 12-step talk and I want to keep it anonymous and I don't really want to talk about which program, but like in a general sense, I was doing the work. And I want to be respectful of those traditions, but I was in it, you know. And then as year 10 came on, I was a little going less, like had less sober friends. I was more in my, you know, doing my thing. And I was like, not a graduate program, but I was like, I can go to parties, I can go to Burning Man, I can do whatever, and I'm fine. 16 years, I'm not going to meetings, not really having that many sober friends, not really talking, and I'm just sort of like distancing myself slowly in a sense that when I look back in hindsight, I'm like, I just wasn't doing the work. And it's addiction, like getting sober is not for people that want it. You can want it so bad and not get it. It's for people that do it. So you have to want it, and then you have to go do the work. And like the way I got sober is not the only way. There's a million ways to get sober. I mean, you can white knuckle it if you want, but the way that I did it, if I wasn't doing the work, then I wasn't prepped for those experiences. I wasn't prepped to go to Splash to be like, this isn't going to be good for me. I'm going to mistreat my partner eventually. I'll put myself in situations that would be harmful for us, or, like I knew those things, yet I still was like, I'm going to try, like maybe, like, and I just feel like, the more I distanced myself from like the core of what got me there and what saved my life, then I was more susceptible to things happening that were not sober. You know what I mean?
Totally. That makes so much sense. I think it's you say a lot in this interview. You've given us so many golden nuggets. You were so amazing in the confession hole interview, which people have asked me where they can watch the full thing, and it's on Substack. And you talked about like one of your rock bottom moments where you shit on a glass coffee table to get crystal. I mean, it's all so good. But I just want to put a sort of a little pin in this talk before I get into some sillier subjects, and just say that the more you share, and I obviously hope that you are continuing to take care of yourself, but the more that you share, the more you inspire me and other people. And it's like, I've thought about you a lot these past few days, because I have no idea what my future is with smoking versus not smoking. I don't really drink ever because it already makes me anxious and depressed, but I just think the more that we are vulnerable with each other, the more that we and are honest about these experiences, the better our community is served. And you have been serving the community for all these years. And
thank you.
I'm just grateful to you. The next topic before we get into our final podcast question is, you taught me, before we knew each other, you taught me how to trim my beard.
Oh yeah.
You had these amazing grooming videos because you were a hairstylist in Beverly Hills for years. You're still cutting some of your friends' hair. What is your relationship to cutting hair now? Does it bring you joy? Does it feel like you're hanging out with an old friend? What is your relationship to that part of your life?
I really love cutting hair, honestly. Like I do it for my friends for free. And I just like do it on my patio, and they'll come over and we'll have like a movie night, and I'll like cut someone's hair while we're watching, or we're just like chilling. Like I'll have like we work days where my friends will come over and we work from here, and some will be on the couch and someone I'll be doing a haircut or whatever, like it's very like, it's just like what I know. And I love the architecture of it. I love the design. I love the detail, how detail oriented I have to be in order to have everything be perfect. And I am a perfectionist in the sense that I like to be like very focused and have a beautiful piece afterwards. So I'm really happy, and I love making people feel like they feel beautiful after, or they feel good, or they feel solid, they have confidence, and like that to me like fills my cup. So in a way it does make me feel good, even if it's just like a free haircut for an hour for a friend where I just get to catch up and talk, and we talk about what they're going through or whatever, and they ask me questions. It's just like a a relationship building thing. And I don't do it for everyone, but I do it for like my like core, like like 10 friends or whatever. And my relationship to it is like I do love it. It doesn't necessarily yield the type of income that I get from doing my other work. And so time wise, it doesn't really make sense for me to be at the hair salon doing haircuts for $100 an hour, splitting the profit with the salon, and then walking away, with the day with $1,000 or what, I don't even know, like, whatever, $600 or whatever. I'm just like, it just doesn't make sense. So I'd rather just do it for free with my friends at home and just hang. You know what I mean?
Well, that's been inspiring too, to see your journey as a creator, because you had a really great interview on Max Emerson's podcast where you were talking about,
I love Max.
It was a great interview where you were talking about how you got into being just first like a YouTube creator. And you said that Tyler Oakley gave you a really great boost when he gave you insight and connected you with reps. But since you've now grown into this OnlyFans journey, and you've said in the interview that part of the reason you took the plunge into OnlyFans is because you wanted to remove the stigma from sex work. Have you felt people treat you differently since getting into the OnlyFans world?
In a way, yes. But honestly, it's more so in my head, I think, because I still operate from that stigma place in a weird way, which I did not see coming. So like, I want to be able to shout from the rooftops about how much I love my job. Like, I want to feel that about my partner, my boyfriend. I want to feel that about my job. I want to feel that about my family, whatever I'm doing. I want to be so passionate about it because I think it's so nice to enroll someone in an idea. When you're passionate about it, you can be talking about fucking water bottles. And if you're passionate about it, I'm like, I need that water bottle, whatever, you know? And so I love talking about my work. However, with this work, with hairstyling, I love it. Like red carpet, like Oscars, like my celebrity clients, or like I'd be at the salon and building relationships. I was so pumped. But this work, I still have shame about it. And so like I can't, like sometimes I don't really, you know, a lot of my work is promoting myself online in order to get people to know that I have this account and I make these films and I make these like photos and videos and whatever. And I'm almost embarrassed about like, because the people at home or my family or like, you know, erotic art or this like elevated version of adult film or whatever I'm trying to do. I mean, I also just do cell phone stuff as well. Me and my ex-partner, we would just fucking throw up a cell phone and like go at it, and it was a blast. And people love the lo-fi stuff too. But just all of it, I find it hard to be so pumped about it. And that is something I really want to work on this year, is getting behind the camera, not being in front of the camera as much, transitioning to the filmmaking part of it, which I love, like pre-production, creating the deck, posting it, then sending it to a creator and be like, hey, do you like any of these ideas? Coming up with a shot list, shooting it, you know, having the light and my camera guy and my sound guy, and then the edit and like I love all the filmmaking. I don't love going to Pound Town on camera, but everything else I love. So I like to talk about the filmmaking. And the stigma I try to remove when I talk about filmmaking. But when it comes down to it, I'm still avoiding talking about like what is on film. And that is like not good.
Well, it makes
because,
sense
like,
though. I mean, the world tells us to. It's
Totally,
partly the world
totally.
tells us to. It's also, as a gay person, you know, gay sex has always been villainized and demonized, and I have the same fucking feeling about sometimes this podcast, sometimes confession holes, sometimes. I mean, if I see someone out and they say something about it, I like start to get embarrassed, and it's like, the creator, we deserve to be proud. You know, we deserve to shout it out to the rooftops. But it's really hard to when the world is telling you that you have no value because of those things. Are you?
But you asked me. Sorry, I forgot I didn't answer your question though. You asked me like in that sense of, yes, the world is telling me certain things, and I agree. A very conservative Christian Judeo society, whatever, makes us feel that way about gay sex and all of that.
Yeah.
However, when I'm in person with someone, people come up to me, whether it be at Coachella or at the fucking High Tops or what, I don't even know, on the street. Like I thought someone came up to me in the bathroom at Hot Dog the other day. It's always in the bathroom line. I'm like, what? Why are we in the bathroom line? Why do you have to can we get a photo? I'm like, in the bathroom line? I look crazy. Anyway, but they're very sweet and very kind, but they will come up and I do feel like one way that people treat me different is not like YouTube and social media. Sure, photos, hang out, talk. I love your work. I follow you. Like, very kind, loving things. But when you're in sex work or when you're making adult films or whatever, they feel that they can be, because maybe they're sitting in their bed in the most intimate parts of their house on their computer watching you do intimate things, and like it feels very close, that they feel like they can touch you more than I thought that they would, and like, or be very close, or like without sort of consent at all. And I'm like, ooh, like a hug or like a grab on the ass or a bulge or walking by. And like some of that's gay culture in general. And I know that we have a thing with consent that I think should be talked about more. However, I have noticed with me though, personally, since I started doing this work, people are much more like, I can touch you if I want, you know? And
you say, no, ma'am, just because it's on your iPhone doesn't mean I want to bone. I can only imagine the grabs you get. Do you, though, as a filmmaker?
Good handful back there, you know?
Yeah. You do. One of my final questions before my character actress question is, your content is very elevated, and you have such an eye and such a perspective. Do you have, when you talk about being behind the camera, does that apply to you wanting to continue to make this type of content? Is it going outside of the spicy world? What are your aspirations creatively?
You know, I'd love to be like a one-man studio, right? I love that idea. I also, it's so much fucking work though, but I love it and I really want to do it. One thing that I really do think that I could see myself doing is I think that there is a corner of the adult. I actually love adult film. I love this world. I never thought I would be here, but I love it. I really do think it's like, it's cool and it's different. And it's like, I think there's a corner of it that's available for elevated stuff that maybe people, I like the lo-fi. I love the like iPhone fucking POV, just like boom into it. But I love making like the more refined, more high concept. There's a plan, there's a shot list, it's a film, sort of like, and I don't want to, I'm not speaking poorly of the other because I do love it. What I like to make is this. And it really fills me up to do so in more ways than one. But and I could see myself making like Moonlight, but with more sex, or like All of Us Strangers, but more sex, or Stranger by the Lake, but more sex, or like almost like storytelling in a way where there's dialogue and there's actors and like it's a film, maybe a short film, but it's a little bit more, it's an elevated version of an adult film, but with like stories
Actual
that I could
storytelling.
conceptualize and like, and maybe just like things that happen in gay life, like I don't even know, you're cheating on your boyfriend and there's like a grinder hookup and then he comes home in the door and then you got like the grinder hookups in the closet and then you have sex with your partner sitting down, like it's just like, and the guys in the like weird shit that like I think would be such fun storytelling, but also sex.
Yeah, when you're like actually writing that story well, and we're actually, it's not just like the classic bad porn acting. Here's the pizza. Fuck, my dick is in the middle. When it's actually like good storytelling with good fucking on camera. You're right. I would be the first to go to the theater if they can you imagine if you can do a premiere and the people
That'd be
are
so cool.
And then we do an after party where
there are film. I think there's film festivals like there's
Dan
that one.
Savage.
Dan Savage has a film festival.
I
about
went to. It's called
cool.
Hump, and I went to one of the
Wait,
screenings.
we should go if you next time. I mean, if there, I don't know when it is, but I would love to.
Yeah, no,
go
I'll
if
look
you
at the
wanna go.
calendar, but there is one in LA. Maybe if it's passed, but I'll look and we should go. But it's there's a total untapped market with that like elevated sort of storytelling with the fucking of it all, and I love this vision for you. And listen, Kyle, you have been and continue to be such a joy for me to know.
Oh, thanks.
However, I have one final question for you, which is, if the world was ending, you could only save one character actress. Who would you save?
A character actress, like a character in a film.
Give me a female actor who you can see her in anything and you're absolutely obsessed with her. What's one,
like an actress?
Yeah, what's one female actress that you would do anything to save?
Okay. So I'm going to say, although I'm not super fond of her acting ability, she has worn a wig and I do love her music. So I feel like I would get a combo of an iconic musician who I'm freaking is at the peak of whoever they are right now, and also an actress. So I would say Gaga.
Oh, that's a character actress we're saving is Lady Gaga, Stephanie Germanotta.
Honey, I went to the tour recently. It was the Coachella performance. Gobsmacked, silent afterwards, could not talk for a week. Like I was just like,
you saw history in the making.
The attention to detail, the artistry. I was like, I would say this bitch, I gotta save.
Listen, and Gaga deserves to be safe. And I hope we get another A Star Is Born moment for her. I hope that we continue to see her oh my God. It's such a great answer. And Kyle, thanks. It has been a long time coming for you to come on this gay ass podcast. And I'm thrilled that it happened. Will you please tell our gorgeous listeners where to follow you?
Sure. You can follow me on Instagram. It's my name, Kyle Krieger. On Twitter, also Kyle Krieger. On TikTok is Krieger Kyle. And on OnlyFans, it's onlyfans.com/Kyle Krieger if you want to see the goods. So come find me, say hi.
They're all linked in the description. Go support Kyle. Go follow. And Kyle, I'll see you at the next hang, whatever it is, shirtless or otherwise.
Shirtless for sure.
Thanks for listening to That's a Gay Ass Podcast. If you enjoyed this interview with the gorgeous Kyle Krieger, please let me know with a comment on YouTube or leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Now, as I mentioned up top, Kyle Krieger has a really, really horny full-length confession hole interview, which lives on Substack. And in addition to that interview, you will see this week's bonus episode with Jimin Moon. He was just in Sunset Boulevard with Nicole Scherzinger and performed the Pussycat Doll song Buttons at Broadway Bears with her this year. So I ask about that and his horny adventures in España, which you can check out at substack.com/@EricWills. I hope you're having a great start to August. I know that Merc is in Rhett. So I'm zhuzhing your aura, zhuzhing all of our auras. I love you so much. And do me a favor and stay gay.
You've been listening to That's a Gay Ass Podcast, hosted by me, Eric Williams. If you want to see and hear more, make sure you're subscribed to us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, or Patreon at Gay Ass Podcast. That's a Gay Ass Podcast is executive produced by Eric Williams and produced by Nathaniel McClure. We'll see you next week.